Evening and thank Good evening and thank you for joining us for this special virtual gallery walkthrough. I am Aaron L. McKinney, Executive Director of High Arts. For accessibility, I will provide a visual description. I am a caramel complexion black male with a high top haircut, faded sides, connecting beard and goatee. I have on a black and white striped shirt sitting in front of a white wall with green plants behind me. I must acknowledge the land that High Arts office and studio space is situated on. We honor the land of the Muncie, Lenape, and Wappinger people, now known as East Harlem, New York. This development process with Sydney L. Mosley and SLMDances has been a huge undertaking, but I have been impressed with the explorations, the discoveries, and the energy put into creating such a memorable experience. In an effort to break down barriers of access, even though we have opened our doors again, we are still exploring ways to provide these creative experiences in the virtual space. So we appreciate you joining us. High Arts is in an exciting season of growth, and we hope that you will continue to join us either in person or virtually. You can find information about all of our exciting updates, programming, and opportunities by visiting our website at www.hi-artsnyc.org or on social media at High Arts NYC. I never shy away from the opportunity to thank the staff of High Arts for their energy and expertise. Without this growing team, this work would not be possible. So thank you to Joyous, Brittany, Eleanor, Nicole, Issa, and Kyria. This organization would not be able to continue its operations and programming without the wonderful support of funders and individuals like you. We appreciate you sharing your time and your financial resources with us. Again, you can visit www.high-artsnyc.org to make a financial contribution. I look forward to seeing you soon, either in person or virtually. Feel free to like, share, and comment as you enjoy this walkthrough of What Does Purple Sound Like? A Skylab residency with Sydney L. Mosley and SLMDances.
Welcome to What Does Purple Sound Like? My name is Sydney Mosley and I am the Artistic Director of Sydney L. Mosley Dances, more fondly known as SLMDances. I'm a Black woman with a black-brown afro, red and gold rimmed glasses, red lipstick, and I'm wearing a purple dress with a gold cardigan sweater. I am currently in the gallery space at High Arts, where there is yellow fabric draped over my right shoulder on the wall with a black and white photo of our friends from Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center right in front of it. Over my left shoulder, you'll see a green plant wrapped with African fabric on a white pedestal. What Does Purple Sound Like is a multimedia installation that activates oral histories and makes visible the stories of elder communities connected to SLMDances. This installation draws inspiration from themes in the writings of Alice Walker and Ntozake Shange. And like the multi-genre approach to their work, weaves together a collection of works in this space from Black women artists across disciplines featuring textile arts. Purple is an energy. Purple is a vibe, and purple is a frequency. Welcome. We are glad that you are here.
What does this community mean to you?
It provides for poor families, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then people who need assistance. So this is what public housing is really great for that. I mean, when I came down here, I was 2 children, and I was out working at the time.
Allow me to share some brief history around this work. On June 19th, 2019, SLMDances, operating in the role of Lincoln Center Education, community artists and residents, co-organized an oral history party with members of the Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center, residents of Amsterdam Houses, Pam Phillips, Changing the Narrative Project, and longtime partners, Barnard Center for Research on Women. It was a great day. The Great Day was a highlight of our ongoing relationship building with older adults in this Upper West Side community. Invited by Lincoln Center and Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center in early 2018, SLMDances shared meals and participated in center activities, offered performances and led dance parties and playtime, complete with hula hoops, during monthly celebrations. As relationships solidified, our engagement became more responsive to the requests of our new friends. We facilitated field trips to cultural experiences around New York City, led line dancing classes, and at their invitation, captured oral histories of living in the neighborhood. With the offering of their stories, Rebecca Gordon, Maria Galarza, Patricia Ryan, Rita Johnson, Marie Stephan, Francis Perez, Soraira Rivera, Francis Edwards, Noelia Baez, Jacqueline Wright, Jean Campbell, Maria M. Perez, Isabel Espinel, Diana Marantadas are all co-creators of What Does Purple Sound Like? Those last three friends, Maria, Isabel, and Diana, have transitioned since we spoke last. This iteration of What Does Purple Sound Like is dedicated to them. We see you, we support you, and we lift you up.
Before I say a few words, I would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the Munsee Lenape people, who are the traditional custodians of the land where I'm speaking from today. My name is Pamela Phillips, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the creator of Changing the Narrative, a resident-centered, place-based community engagement project whose mission is to expand the discussion around the public housing program and policies to be more inclusive of residents' voices and lived experience. Working with artists, with Purple, on a project like this, one based on residents' personal stories about their homes and communities, allowed me to see how engaging with community through art in the form of photography, music, and dance expands the audience to those who may not otherwise engage in this particular issue. It provides an alternative pathway to dialogue around personal issues and human experiences, and lets the spectator engage with this material in a very different way. Thank you.
In Alice Walker's 1982 novel, The Color Purple, textile arts are tools of transformation and liberation. Quilting is an act of reparation for Celie and Sophia. Later on in the novel, Celie self-actualizes as a woman and artist through sewing pants. One of the ways that she and Mr. repair their relationship is when he takes an interest in her sewing and begins learning from her and helping her make pants. Similarly, in Ntozake Shange's first novel, Sassafras, Cypress and Indigo, also published in 1982, the eldest sister Sassafras is a weaver just like her mother. It is an inherited practice handed down through generations of mothers and daughters, and it gives Sassafras a sense of womanhood. Both novels navigate stories of coming of age as a Black woman, sisterhood, intergenerational relationships, love, and intimacy. The forms of both novels weave together letters, prayers, rituals, spells, and curses, and more. It should also be noted that Walker and Shange, publishing these seminal works in the same year, were a part of a sisterhood of Black women writers working together to move their work forward. The What Does Purple Sound Like installation weaves and layers together these ideas in this gallery space. From The custom-made ottoman cover, adorned with cowrie shells by Shawnee Peters that guests may sit on when they are here in the gallery, to the incredibly detailed imaginings depicted in the Under the Harlem River quilt by Kim F. Hall that you first saw when I began sharing with you, and you will see when you enter the space. Among all of these installation elements, together, they create a physical and contemplative space to recompose and revive the spirit. Partnered with Ebony Smith and Counterfeit Madison's music, the physical activation of the space with pop-up performances, these things come together for What Does Purple Sound Like to create a multimedia experience that is rich and sensuous like Sassafras's womanhood. This evening, you'll get to hear from Shawnee, Kim, and Ebony. Each of them deeply understands the power of sisterhood between Black women, and their work invokes permission, healing, and joy, both for themselves and others. I also deeply cherish my relationships with each of these artists, and like the writing group that Walker and Shange were a part of, we continue to work together to move one another's work forward.
Peace everybody, my name is Shawnee Peters. How y'all doing? Happy to be here talking to you about What Does Purple Sound Like? My pronouns are she and her. I am recording this from New Orleans, Louisiana, previously occupied by many indigenous people. It's off of the Mississippi River, it's off of the Gulf of Mexico, so this has been a very important place in the history of this land. So there have always been a lot of people here, and one word that that really summarizes that I love is Bulbancha, which is an indigenous word that means land of many tongues, land where many tongues are spoken. So it really points to that history. I'm honored to be a resident here today. I've been here about 8 months. Prior to that, I was there in Harlem, where you all are for the last 15 years. My role in What Does Purple Sound Like is as a visual artist and designer. I created a lot of the installation materials that are in the space, both that you look at and see hanging from the ceilings, a few on the wall, and that you may sit on and find comfort in. I hope that is happening. And I also help to really organize the entire space and make sure that all of the elements that you see fit together nicely. So my big question for this video is ways that I felt permission to make and explore. And that's a great question for me, because that's definitely the highlight of this project for me, is the space that I got to just make without, an expectation that things look like people kind of expect me to make a thing to look, I guess. I love Sydney's work so much, and I really have wanted for a long time to be able to support. So this gave me a chance to not only make things that support this installation, but that can be used in future performances and spaces that the Sydney Mosley Dance Company occupies. So that was an exploration, making pieces that can shift and transform. I took a ton of inspiration from Dr. Kim Hall. Those major quilts that you see in the space, those are all by her. But I got to check out more of her quilts previous to setting up the install. And so I really took inspiration from her and kind of dabbled into quilting myself, which I'm also thinking about, as a new resident of the South. I'm from Michigan originally, lived in New York forever, so as a Black American, coming to the South is a spiritually, significant experience, and I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been thinking about it a lot through quilts. They're more prevalent down here, it's a discipline of our grandmothers, right, of our ancestors, that continues, and it's especially prevalent down here. So it was really freeing and liberating to be able to begin to make some of my own and think about how that feels, and just to collaborate with so many different types of artists, dancers, musicians, visual, all the things has been really inspiring, and and comforting and exactly what I needed in balance with all the other kind of work that I do. So I'm grateful to have contributed. I hope that you all enjoy the work so much. And thank you again, Sydney, for this opportunity. Peace.
Hi, I'm Professor Kim Hall. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm speaking to you from my parents' apartment in Baltimore, Maryland, which sits on unceded lands of the Piscataway and Susquehannock peoples. I honor the thousands of indigenous peoples currently living in Baltimore that include the Piscataway, Eastern Band of Cherokee community, and the Lumbee. I'm sitting in front of one of my mother's brightly colored quilts that's full of reds, yellows, and purples. I'm a round-faced, medium-complected Black woman. My slightly grayed hair is pulled back, and I'm wearing cat's eye glasses that are cheetah print on top and bright blue on the bottom, and a blue and black sweater. I was thrilled when SLMDances asked to display some of my quilts as part of What Does Purple Sound Like? Some of the quilts were made up to 20 years ago, and some as recently as this year. It's hard to say everything that quilting has meant for me over the years since I was learned from my paternal grandmother at 7 years old. But since I became an academic, it's more like the character Sassafras in Ntozake Shange's Sassafras, Cypress, and Indigo. And that character found the tension between writing and textiles, and quilting was a relief from the stresses of writing. In grad school, it was a lifesaver because it was something that was uniquely mine, and I wasn't being told to revise and resubmit, or that I didn't know what I was doing. When I was quilting, it was right, and it was everything that I am. And everywhere I go, quilting has been both an anchor to myself and a way to connect me to new communities, either by shopping at local places frequented by textile artists or by joining local groups that tend to be welcoming sisterhoods. More recently, as I became in dealing with illness, I discovered from experts that quilting has psychological, neurological, and cognitive benefits. So I'm creating new neural pathways in my brain. My hands are maintaining their strength, but mostly it's a safe haven, a colorful space of great pleasure. So whenever I'm kind of touching the fabric or imagining what I could do with the fabric, it just brings me nothing but joy. So thank you for coming to the installation. I hope you enjoy the dancing and the quilts, and I thank SLMDances once again. Take care.
What is coming down upon me? Consequences of new life, regulating this new heartbeat.
Hi everybody, my name is Ebony Smith. I worked on Purple as a music producer. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am broadcasting live from Memphis, Tennessee, where I am from. And I have had such an incredible time working on Purple. I think the power of the work lies within this concept of giving voice to those who have been traditionally overlooked. And in our public housing environments all across the United States, it's one of the places where you find such an incredible community of people. However, due to poverty and also socioeconomic hardship, I think sometimes that demographic of folks tend to not always have their voices heard. So I think in terms of what Purple sounds like, you hear the wonderful diversified voices of people who live in the Amsterdam houses, a part of the Lincoln Center area, and what their lives are like, what their voices sound like. I think that was one of my favorite aspects, is listening to the various accents and the different languages and the ways in which folks interact through sound, how their sound resonates in such beautiful and powerful ways, and also what their wishes, desires, and hopes are for their community, and how exactly they use their voices to embolden themselves within that community how they reach out to the world through that community. And so what does purple sound like is a resounding consideration for the people who are part of that environment, the Amsterdam houses, and the ways in which they express themselves individually and freely, but also as a community and a collective.
In our dreams for the future, What Does Purple Sound Like will become a lobby pre-show installation that engages audiences before performances of our evening-length choreo poem, Purple, a Ritual in 9 Spells, devised and performed by a multi-generational femme ensemble of 12, including the SLMDances collective and several collaborating guest artists. As we tour performances geographically beyond New York City, What Does Purple Sound Like will shift to reflect the communities we have been invited into. It will activate the stories of older adults that we engage in the local communities where we share our performances. Thank you so much for spending time with us this evening in the Purple universe. You have one more chance to engage with this work this week. Visit us in person for our last day of open gallery hours and a closing celebration of this iteration of the work on Friday, November 5th from 5 to 8 p.m. Last but not least, as we continue to move this artistic work forward, we invite you to invest in SLMDances through our current fundraising campaign. Please visit SLMdances.com to sustain our work into the future. Thank you.
I've been living in Amsterdam houses for 50-some plus years.
Okay, hi, this is Frances Perez, and I reside at Amsterdam Houses, along with Maria Mercedes Perez, also, my mom.
Diana Marandidis, 240 West 65th Street.
I'm Fran. Jean.
Tell me your name again.
Maria,
yes, thank you.
My name is Maria.
My name is Marie Stephen. I've been living in Amsterdam for 50 years.